She ruled an empire on the brink of collapse. She charmed the most powerful men of her time, Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. She defied Rome itself, leaving a legacy that still captivates us 2,000 years later. Cleopatra, the last pharaoh of Egypt, wasn't just a queen. She was a master strategist, a polyglot, and a woman who rewrote the rules of power. But was she the seductress of legend, or a brilliant leader misunderstood by history? Grab a seat, because this is the epic story of Cleopatra, and it's wilder than you think. To understand Cleopatra, we need to rewind to 51 BC. Egypt, once the jewel of the ancient world, was crumbling. The Ptolemaic dynasty, founded by one of Alexander the Great's generals, had ruled for nearly 300 years, but now it was a mess of infighting, corruption, and Roman interference. Enter Cleopatra VII, just 18 years old, thrust onto a throne alongside her younger brother, Ptolemy XIII, who, by the way, was also her husband. Yeah, the Ptolemies had a thing for keeping it in the family, but this wasn't a happy marriage. Ptolemy's advisors, a group of scheming courtiers, wanted Cleopatra gone. Egypt was a prize Rome coveted, and Cleopatra knew she was walking a tightrope. What made her different? She wasn't just royal, she was brilliant. Fluent in 9 languages, including Egyptian, which her Greek ancestors never bothered to learn, she connected with her people in ways no Ptolemy had before. Cleopatra's reign started with a crisis. Ptolemy's advisors exiled her from Alexandria, forcing her to flee to Syria. But Cleopatra wasn't one to give up. She raised an army, ready to take back her throne by force. Then, in 48 BC, a game-changer arrived. Julius Caesar, Rome's greatest general, chasing his rival Pompey to Egypt. Pompey was dead on arrival, murdered by Ptolemy's men to curry favor with Caesar. Big mistake. Caesar was furious, and Cleopatra saw her opening. According to legend, she smuggled herself into Caesar's palace, rolled up in a carpet, and unfurled herself to meet him. Was it a carpet or just a bold entrance? Historians debate, but the result was undeniable. Caesar was charmed. He backed Cleopatra's claim, sparking a civil war in Egypt. At the Battle of the Nile, Caesar's legions crushed Ptolemy's forces. Ptolemy drowned, and Cleopatra was queen again, now with Caesar as her ally and lover. Their son, Caesarion, born in 47 BC, was a symbol of their union, tying Egypt to Rome. But was Cleopatra in love? Or was this a calculated move to secure her power? Cleopatra's victory was short-lived. In 44 BC, Julius Caesar was assassinated in Rome, stabbed 23 times by his own senators. The Roman world plunged into chaos, and Cleopatra, now a single mother and ruler, needed a new ally. Enter Mark Antony, Caesar's loyal general, a larger-than-life figure known for his bravery, charisma, and love of a good party. In 41 BC, Cleopatra arranged a meeting that would go down in history. She sailed to Tarsus on a golden barge, dressed as Aphrodite, with purple sails, silver oars, and music drifting across the water. Antony was spellbound. Their partnership was both personal and political. Cleopatra needed Rome's military might. Antony needed Egypt's wealth to fund his campaigns. Together, they had twins, Alexander Helios and Cleopatra Selene, and later another son, Ptolemy Philadelphus. Their alliance peaked with the donations of Alexandria, a lavish ceremony where Cleopatra and her children were granted vast territories. But this bold move enraged Rome, especially Octavian, Caesar's adopted heir, who saw Antony as a traitor and Cleopatra as a threat. Octavian's propaganda machine went into overdrive, painting Cleopatra as a seductress bending Antony to her will. Was she manipulating him, or were they true partners in a dream of a new empire? Cleopatra and Antony's dream of a united East was bold, but it made them enemies of Rome's rising star, Octavian. In 31 BC, the showdown came at the Battle of Actium, a massive naval clash off Greece's coast. Antony and Cleopatra's fleet was impressive, but Octavian's admiral, Agrippa, outmaneuvered them. Poor planning and defections crippled their forces, and they fled to Alexandria. The end was near. In 30 BC, as Octavian's army closed in, Antony heard a false rumor that Cleopatra was dead. Devastated, he fell on his sword. Cleopatra, still alive, was heartbroken but resolute. She barricaded herself in her mausoleum, refusing to be paraded as Octavian's prisoner. Legend says she chose death by an asp's bite, a symbol of divine royalty in Egypt. But some historians argue Octavian had her poisoned to tie up loose ends. Either way, Cleopatra died at 39, and with her, Egypt's independence ended. Octavian, soon to be Augustus, annexed Egypt, and Caesarion was killed, erasing her line. But Cleopatra's story didn't end there. Her children survived, and her legend grew, twisted by Roman writers but enduring as a symbol of defiance. So, who was the real Cleopatra? Roman sources like Plutarch and Cassius Dio painted her as a seductress, but they were writing for a Roman audience that feared powerful women. Modern historians see her differently, a ruler who rebuilt Egypt's economy, navigated Rome's politics, and preserved her kingdom longer than anyone expected. She spoke 9 languages, including Egyptian, making her a rare Ptolemy who embraced her subjects. She wasn't perfect. Her alliance with Antony alienated Rome, and her lavish displays didn't help her image. But she played a losing hand with unmatched skill. Her story raises big questions. Was she a victim of Roman propaganda? Did her gender shape how history judged her? And what can we learn from her today, in a world still grappling with power and perception? Cleopatra wasn't just a queen. She was a force of nature who turned a crumbling kingdom into a stage for one of history's greatest dramas. Her intelligence, charisma, and defiance made her a legend, even if Rome tried to rewrite her story. From her golden barge to her final stand, Cleopatra proved that power isn't just about strength, it's about strategy, vision, and courage. Thanks for joining us on this journey through history. If you loved this, like, comment, and subscribe to keep history alive, and let's make Cleopatra proud. Comment your favorite Cleopatra moment and share this video with a history lover. Let's hit 20,000 likes for the Queen of Egypt.